Austria, the hidden multi-million-dollar citizenship by exception program. It isn't talked about that much because obviously not that many people can afford this price point. We're talking about an investment of 5 to 8 million euros. In some cases, a donation of around 4 to 5 million euros. So it's significant. In order to have this be worth it, you have to be worth at least, let's say, 5 or 10 times the amount. So let's say somebody that has a 50 million euro net worth or more, this could be interesting. We get some clients, for example, that are from Syria, or some clients from the United States that have $100 million net worth. They want to renounce their US citizenship. They no longer have access to Malta. Malta closed. Its citizenship by investment program has now transitioned over to a citizenship by exception, by merit program. The problem with Malta is that I've said that they can always revoke your citizenship if your contribution does not continue. I'm Rafael. I run Wealthy Expat. I'm the second citizenship guy. I have 4 different citizenships. I renounce my US citizenship. So what I talk about is from personal experience. So let's say that you pay them 2 million euros. You start a business in Malta. You hire people in Malta. If the next administration, the next government doesn't like what you're doing, disagrees with what you're doing, doesn't like that you're not contributing as much as you were contributing before, they can always revoke your citizenship. So it's a citizenship with terms and conditions, which I never agree to. If you get citizenship, done deal. It can never be revoked. It can never be re-evaluated in the future. That's what you want to go for. So if you want to go for a European EU passport, although obviously a lot of people criticize EU citizenships, I criticize EU citizenship because the direction of the European Union and the main EU leadership, they want to track what you're doing online. They're asking for your ID to use ChatGPT, for example, to use YouTube in some cases. They want to track you online as much as possible. And with the rollout of the digital euro, which is coming very soon, they're going to track you financially as well, where you spend your money, how you get taxed on that money. Taxes, obviously, in Austria are significantly higher than many other countries. So going into Austria has to be a very careful decision, but it's still attractive for a lot of people, and mainly people that don't have access to a European passport, mainly people that just want better visa-free travel. So for example, somebody from Syria, I have a lot of clients from Syria that come to us with a Dominica passport, with a St. Kitts passport, with some Caribbean passport. They can travel to Europe visa-free, and they want that permanent access to the European Union and also access to the United States. They just want better visa-free travel, and they have a ton of money. They have $100 million net worth, $200 million net worth. I was talking to a gold entrepreneur. He sells gold in Dubai. He's a multi-million dollar, ultra high net worth entrepreneur. He wants to have a much better passport. He understands that the EU might track him. He understands that the EU might be restrictive in the future, but all he cares about is that visa-free travel. A US citizen that wants to renounce US, a UK citizen that wants to go live in the European Union. If you really need that in your life and you have the money to spend it, then Austria could be a program for you. Now, this is very case by case, it's discretionary. We obviously don't do a lot of these programs. That will be a lie. There's not that many people that will spend 5 million euros on a citizenship. It's just not realistic. And in some cases, if you were to go through the investment route, not donation route, we're talking at over 10 million euros. Obviously, not everybody has this amount of money. If you want to know how the program works, first off, it starts off with initial due diligence. Obviously, you're going to become a citizen of the European Union. And although the European Union likes to welcome people from all over the world with no passport, criminal record, who cares? Just come in on a boat and we'll take care of you. If you want to go the legal way and you want to go through investment, they're going to check everything about you. Just like Malta was checking its applicants, they would find bank accounts from decades ago. They would find records from decades ago. They would find everything about your life. The same thing is going to be in Austria. They want to make sure that they don't have a scandal later on. They want to make sure that they don't have anybody that is a security risk. Although if you come in on a boat, feel free to become a security risk. Do whatever you want. We're not going to prosecute you. People that come through investment have to be investigated. Once this initial due diligence is done, then the actual price and the actual processing for you specifically is stated. So whether that's you need to invest 10 million euros, you need to donate 5 million euros, you need to start a business, you need to buy a bunch of real estate, you need to whatever the government decides on your particular case. This is typically how citizenship by merit, citizenship by exception works, is you first apply to the government and then the government tells you this is what we require based on your profile. So somebody from, let's say a random example, I don't think a Swiss citizen is going to get Austrian, but a Swiss citizen wants to get Austrian citizenship, already speaks German, has an arguably better citizenship than the Austrian one. The requirements are going to be much less than they're going to be from somebody from Syria that applies on a Dominica passport, or somebody from Bolivia, or just any other random country, Thailand, for example. The requirements are going to be much higher. The amounts are going to be much higher. The due diligence is going to be way deeper than somebody that comes from a neighboring country or a country that is seen as better than Austria, although there's not that many countries that are seen as better than Austria. Some US citizen, for example, clean record, big business, big LinkedIn profile, big verifiable record is going to be a lot better and faster. It might even be a couple of months than somebody, for example, from Indonesia with no verifiable record online that just has a giant construction company worth billions of dollars. So it's really case by case. A lot of the citizenship by merit programs that we talk about here on YouTube specifically are case by case. They look at you and then they tell you this is the price, this is the requirements, this is what you need to do, this is the contributions that you need to do to the country. And then it comes obviously from a legal basis. There has to be an article in the law, and there has to be a signature from a very high person in the government, whether it's the prime minister, president of the country, director of foreign affairs, director of immigration, somebody extremely high up in the government. Now, an example of somebody that might be interested in this program is, for example, a multi-millionaire, somebody worth 50 million euros or $55 million with a large family. Let's say they have 3 children and they want to give those children an education in Europe. Maybe they don't have access to the European Union at all. They don't have access to Schengen, for example. They come from a country without Schengen access, and they personally pay a lot of taxes in their home country, and they want to pay less taxes somewhere in Europe by having their tax residency somewhere in Europe. They could, for example, get Austrian citizenship. Then obviously the children and the wife or whoever is accompanying would also be an Austrian citizen, so they can go and live and study anywhere in the European Union, and them personally could move anywhere in the European Union. For example, they could move to Portugal and take advantage of the cryptocurrency 1-year taxation allowance, where if you wait 1 year and you hold your assets for over a year, you don't pay taxes on your cryptocurrency. Maybe that is worth the money invested. So the 5 million, 10 million they're going to invest in Austria is going to be compensated by the 10 million they're going to save in taxes by moving to a place like Portugal, or doing some sort of lump sum tax like in Italy, 200,000 euros. Obviously, these countries have their downsides. More illegal immigration, which if you're a legal immigrant, for example, me, if I want to move somewhere, I get a legal permit. I invest in that country. I get a residency permit. I get permanent residency. When I see these people coming in on boats from places that are not really war-torn and they get the same rights as I do, it pisses me off. So obviously, if you're investing 5 million euros in a country and somebody comes in on a boat and they get the exact same rights, obviously, it makes you pissed. I would be extremely angry if I invested 5 million in Austria and people are getting Austrian citizenship for free. Just like in Germany, they've given citizenship to millions of people from war-torn third world countries that are security risk, 100% security risk. But for those people that are investing, it's really hypercritical, to be honest. But that could be a case where, for example, you come from a country with no Schengen access, you come from a country where they're taxing you a lot, and you have a bad passport. Let's say that's South Africa. Somebody from South Africa, taxes are enforced, taxes are very aggressive. You have a relatively not bad passport because you do have solid access apart from Europe, but you want the European access, and you also have rising crime. Maybe you're targeted, you're part of a targeted community in South Africa. Then getting Austrian citizenship by investing 5 or 10 million might make a lot of sense for your entire family. Especially if you have a large family, let's say 6 people, and you're extremely wealthy, clean record, then you're really spending, let's say, $1 million per person. So it might make it worth it for that specific person. As I said, we don't get that many people for it, but it is a program that is definitely available. What I tend to suggest to clients that come in saying, hey, I want Austria, I want to spend 10 million on an Austrian passport, is to get some other citizenship by merit at a much lower price, for example, outside of the European Union, but still geographically in Europe, where you're investing, let's say, 500,000 euros. Instead of investing 5 million, you invest 100,000, and then you get a golden visa in Europe. So for example, Greece has a lump sum tax. You can get Greek golden visa for an investment of much less than 5 million euros, let's say 400,000 euros, or in some cases 800,000 euros. And then anyway, you have the Greek lump sum tax. So you can anyway lower your taxes. And although you don't have access to live anywhere in the European Union, you only have access to live in Greece, you can move freely in the Schengen area. You can live in Greece and then move freely throughout any other country in the Schengen area. That might actually be better because then you don't have the risks of becoming an EU citizen, like more restriction, more control, more privacy concerns in the future. You still remain an outside EU citizen with an EU residency permit with a good lump sum tax regime. For example, in Italy or in Portugal, you have the golden visa. You're probably not going to get citizenship in the next 5 to 10 years, but that's not the goal. The goal is to have that access to Europe. The goal is to have a better place to live. The goal is to have, for example, another citizenship. So that's why citizenship by merit in another country outside of Europe, still a solid option for visa-free travel, plus the EU golden visa for that permanent or semi-permanent access to Europe. It's not just Austria. Many other countries offer citizenship by investment, by donation, by exception. If you want to see all the options available, check out this video right here on the more than 20 countries around the world that offer second citizenship in exchange for your investment. You can check it out right here.